Good morning, parents. It's lovely to see you. I can't believe we're already talking to 8th grade parents. Every year that I do this, it seems like it just goes faster and faster. And then in a couple of years, we'll be talking to you about graduation and doing our presentations for senior parents. So we are excited to see everybody, and we are going to jump in. We're going to talk about course registration, but really this conversation is a vehicle to talk about transitioning to high school, to start to talk about what the support for your children looks like as they go into 9th grade next year and into the high school. And so hopefully this will be really informative and some good information for you. So this is the outline of what we're going to talk about. I'll do some introductions for our team up here of high school counselors. We'll talk a little bit about the high school programs that we have, activities, extracurriculars, sports, clubs. I know that's always a really exciting thing for the rising 9th graders. We're going to talk about course registration and balance. So with all of these new things, how do we make time? How do we prioritize? How do we make sure that we're still allowing these students to kind of grow at their own pace? And then we will allow some time for some questions at the very end. So my name is Ronnie Sherrier. I'm one of the 4 high school counselors up here. This is my 4th year at KIS. So I'm currently working with my first group of seniors that I've had since they were rising 9th graders, and it's been really exciting to see them grow, and I'm really looking forward to getting to see that with your kids. I'll let everybody else introduce themselves.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Dale Samuels. This is my 2nd year at KIS, but I have been in Korea this is my 5th year living in Korea, and yeah, so good to see everybody here today.
My name is Jennifer Dorn, and it's my 8th year here in Korea and in KIS. And prior to living here, I was living in the States in Oregon. And I really love working and meeting 8th grade parents. I know it's a time where there's a lot of change and a lot of excitement and a lot of questions. So today is also just the first time that we'll have some sort of session and information sharing with you. We'll share a schedule a little bit later, but today's just our first opportunity to meet each other and for you to become feeling more familiar with high school.
Good morning. My name is Sana Mohammed. This is my 2nd year at KIS and in Korea, but overall, this is my 10th year working in counseling, and I was back in the States before. Thank you for coming in today.
And so one of the questions that we get a lot, I know that many of you had submitted some questions ahead of time, and then we've just been doing course registration with your kids over the last few days. And one of the questions we always get is, when will I know my counselor? And that will happen in June. So that happens at the very end of the year, unless you have an older child as well at KIS, and then we keep the same counselors with families. So for those of you who have a current high school student, then you're familiar with the 4 of us already, and we'll continue working with you guys as we move forward with your children. So a reminder for those of you who have students who have been through KIS or are currently in the high school, and new information for those of you who have a student who's going to be entering the high school, is our counseling team is comprehensive. And so what that means is we work with your kids from grade 9 until they graduate. We help them in a whole host of different ways. The first thing on the list is academics, because that's what we're talking to you about today as we're doing course registration. So looking at prerequisites, talking about strengths, talking about plans, talking about what does this look like in 2 years, in 3 years? How does this translate to graduation requirements and course management? How does this work with time management and building some of those skills? And talking about organization, helping them with communication with their teachers. Personal and social, this is a really, really exciting time for your teenagers. It's also a really challenging time. It's a time of lots of change and lots of newness. And so we're there to kind of support them as they build those skills, as they work on how do they process their emotions, how do they understand what's happening, being there to listen to the things that are going on in their day, help them to work on those relationships with their peers, with their teachers, and just be somebody there to kind of when they're having a tough day, listen to them and help them process those things. College and post-secondary planning. So lots of our students have some career aspirations already, and some have no idea what they want to do, and it is totally fine wherever they're at in that journey. We are here. We will be working with them with their 4-year planning. We'll be working with them for planning for after high school, for supporting college applications, for supporting, that idea of what life will look like after high school. And so all of these conversations are happening throughout the year. We do lots of meetings with the students every single year. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a bit. I know some of the questions was, how often will your children meet with a counselor? We will do lessons with them throughout the year, so in smaller groups, covering all of these different things. So we'll have lessons on time management. We'll have lessons on understanding emotions, and have lessons on writing essays and everything in between. We also have time built into the schedule for students to come meet with us one-on-one. Some of that will be initiated by us as counselors, and some of that will be open for your students to come in when they do need that support. We provide a safe space for them to come in and talk about whatever it is that is going on with their life. And again, we try to proactively set up those meetings as well. But one of the things we always want is for you to also encourage them to come see them. When they first get to high school, it can be a little overwhelming, all these new people, and we will definitely reach out to them, but they are free and welcome and encouraged to come see us as often as they want. Speaking of that transition to 9th grade, there are some things that we're going to do specifically for that group of students to kind of help them with this transition. So we task some of our upperclassmen, we call them Phoenix Ambassadors, in working with new students to our high school. And one of the biggest new groups is our rising 9th graders. And so this group of juniors and seniors will do things like new student orientation, 9th grade orientation. We put them into little teams, and we've done things throughout this year where they've had lunches together. We've done some competitions, and just giving them somebody who they can talk to, who's kind of been through it before, who is excited to share their experience and some little tips that they've learned along the way. And so they'll get assigned to a little group at the beginning of next year, and then as an entire group, we'll do some kind of team building things kind of from the beginning of the year throughout the year. Autonomous time is going to be new for them. And so in our schedule, every other day, each student has an 80-minute auto block. And this time is designed for them to be able to do some additional studying, work in groups, come see their counselor, get lessons from counselors, get lessons from administrators. And then if we look at that next thing, the 9th grade teaming. And so every one of your students, their core subject teachers, their English, their biology, their East Asian study, will all have the same free period as them. And so that is available for them to come in because they just wrote their Romeo and Juliet essay and want to get some feedback. Or they've got a group project in East Asian studies and their group needs some additional help from the teacher. Or they missed a day because they were sick and they need to come in and do one of their assessments. And so we build that into the schedule, which is a really challenging thing that the administrators are going to be working on over the next few months. But that is where it allows the students to kind of come in and be able to see their teachers outside of the class time as well.
With coming into the high school comes a lot of new and exciting opportunities for your children in a wide area of, school activities. I believe right now in middle school, students participate in one club per week, and they have the choice between, 25 to 30 clubs. Going into high school, that expands quite significantly for our students. They have a choice of 80 or more clubs, which is really, really exciting. And they will take on 3 clubs per week. They'll do a club on a Monday, a club on a Wednesday, and a club on a Friday. And those are 3 different clubs for each of those days. And I know this is something I've heard that parents are really excited about. When we met your children earlier this week, they were also really excited about that. And when can they sign up for clubs, and how do they sign up for clubs? And you're going to get all this information later in the spring on what clubs are going to be available for them next year, and how they're going to go about that process. Another thing students can do is even create their own club. So although we have a list of 80 clubs or more that they can choose, if your child has an interest that they are particularly passionate about, they can set a proposal and try to start their own club and be a club leader. Now, this is not available in grade 9, but they can have their proposal ready in grade 9 for grade 10. So they won't be starting their own club next year, but they can begin the creation of their own club once they've already been in high school for a year. They know what it's like, and they can look to do that starting in grade 10. Sports is another big difference and an exciting opportunity going into the high school. This is where they compete against other schools. They have to try out for teams. They travel sometimes internationally for competitions, and it's about skill development and winning, especially at the varsity level of sports. JV is more for the development, junior varsity, and the varsity is for the competition and winning. The sports available to high school students are basketball, can I get all these? Basketball, volleyball, swimming, cross country, track and field, I'm going to say football, but soccer for some of you, and no tennis. Cheerleading, badminton, and then we have golf. Yes, very good. And then there's other sports that they can participate in that isn't necessarily competition against other schools. We have like table tennis. Vex robotics is actually very popular, and our KIS team is really good. I think we are champions in that. So there's just so much opportunity for students to compete and to develop skills in a wide range of sports. There's a lot of music classes available to students, and there's 2 sets. There is the concert, which every student can take if they choose to, regardless of their previous experience or ability. And then we have the Phoenix, which is all students must audition to be in the Phoenix Orchestra or Phoenix Wind Ensemble or the Phoenix Concert. And you will find out from their music teacher when and how that audition is going to take place. Then we have other forms of competition through MUN and speech and debate. Again, these can be in school and out of school and even international. So there's so many opportunities for students as they transition into the high school. And perhaps your child is not necessarily sporty or musical or competitive. And then there's so many service or volunteer style opportunities available to students here at KIS. We do have a service coordinator, and if your child is interested in that type of thing and outreaching into the community and making a change in the community, then there's going to be a lot of opportunities for that as they go into the high school. Anything? No? Okay, but with all of these amazing things that are going to be available to your child, that doesn't it doesn't mean there's more hours. There may be hundreds more opportunity, but we still only have 24 hours in the day for all of those opportunities. And so finding balance is really important, and making choices. And part of maturing, when your children were really young and they say, I want this. But then part of growing up and part of maturing is having to make some choices. And this quote, this is actually from Mr. Shari, I think it's a fantastic quote. More is not better, better is better. Just because you can do 1,000 things doesn't mean it's good for you to do 1,000 things. And it's going to be really important that you help support your children to make the right choices in what they're going to focus their attention on in all of these amazing things. And of course, our job as counselors is to help your students also find balance, and we really do welcome them to come and talk to us. And I've had some fantastic conversations this week with high school students like, Mr. Samuels, I want to do this, but I'm not sure if this is going to be right for me, or is this going to be too much? What do you think? And these conversations and just sometimes voicing them out loud is really helpful in understanding what balance is. And that's different for each and every person. Yeah, good. Okay, moving on.
Speaking of balance, I'm going to go through the graduation requirements at KIS. So in a total, we have 22 credits that your students need in order to graduate from high school. Most of our students meet these requirements based on all the courses we have them take. So you'll notice there's different categories. So English, math, history or social studies, science, PE, art, and electives. And so for English, your students are going to be taking English every single year. In ninth grade, they will have English 9, so that's going to be their English class in ninth grade. For math, it's going to be about 4 credits or 4 years of math. So every single year in high school, they will be taking a math course. Geometry and Algebra 2 are the 2 courses that are requirements that students have to have in order to graduate, and then the other 2 courses are basically up to the student. We have so many different math courses ranging from like statistics to calculus. It's very open for students to choose. For social studies or history, they have 3 credits or 3 years of history that's required. So EAS is East Asian Studies, and that's the course that all of your students will be taking in ninth grade. And then following, they'll be able to take World History or US History with the options of AP courses for those 2 in 10th and 11th grade. Students sometimes opt to take another history class, so comparative government, for example, in their senior year, but it's not required. In sciences, they have about 3 credits or 3 years. Biology and chemistry are the 2 science courses that are major requirements, and biology is the course that your students will be taking in ninth grade next year, following chemistry the following year, and then they're able to choose their 3rd year of science. So we have so many different options for science, including astronomy, environmental science, physics. So they can take any of those courses for their 3rd year, and then many students end up taking a 4th year of science, especially if they're interested in the sciences or the field of math or engineering as well. PE, we have about 2 credits required or 2 years. All ninth grade students will be enrolled in Essentials of PE in their ninth grade. Their 2nd year of PE, they are able to choose which grade they want to take PE in. So they can take PE in 10th grade or 11th grade or 12th grade. I have a variety of students who choose different grade levels. So some students want to just get it out of the way, so they decide to take their 2nd year of PE in 10th grade. Or they really enjoy PE, so they want to keep it in their schedule. Or I have students that move it to junior or senior year. I've had a lot of seniors this year, or even last year. They don't realize that PE actually is a lot of work and that they do have assignments that they have to turn in for that course. And so a lot of seniors tend to complain that it ends up being more work than they anticipated. So just something to keep in mind when your students are planning. But like I mentioned, many students love PE, and it's kind of a good class to have to balance, again, going back to balance the academic stress in their life. For art, it's only 1 credit or 1 year, but many of our students end up doing so many years of different art courses that can range from music, theater, CAD or computer-aided design, yearbook, or concert, choir, band, orchestra. So there's so many variety of options for art credits here. And then the rest are electives, about 5 credits, but this can vary so much. It's essentially anything that the students do of extra of the requirements. There's something to note here as well, that most of our requirements align to what US universities require as well, with the exception of language. So world language is not a KIS graduation requirement, but many universities, especially in the US, do require world language. So that is something to keep in mind. So for 9th grade, students will essentially have about 2 elective choices in their schedule. One will probably be a language if they're currently taking one right now. So then you're only left with a second elective option. So just something to keep in mind. There's also no specific requirement for community service. We know a lot of high schools require a certain number of hours or things like that, but KIS does not have a community service requirement. But again, if your students they love to provide that service, they want to get involved, they're in clubs like National Honor Society where they do a lot of that volunteer work, that is something that is going to be beneficial to them in the future as well. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. So required courses. So you'll see here for freshman year, like I mentioned, they'll have English 9, they'll have, the math course is going to be following whichever math course they're currently enrolled in. It'll be to the next level. Biology, East Asian Studies, PE, and then the other electives. So that's going to be, in their 9th grade year, they don't have too many options to choose from because their schedule is very straightforward and pretty much designed for them. But as you notice, as you get older, they have so many more options to choose any types of courses that they would like to, essentially. By the time they get to senior year, only English and math are the courses that are going to be required for that year. Of course, students don't only have 2 classes in their senior year, so they'll be able to have so many options to take anything that they essentially want to or they want to focus more on. And the 4-year plan, so you all should have the sheet of paper that's the 4-year plan. You'll notice at the top it's by grade level, so you'll see a 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade section, and then on the side it'll have all of the subjects listed there. So for 9th grade, what we had your students do is essentially check off those courses in the 9th grade column that they would plan to register for. And then in the electives boxes, they were able to decide, okay, I have a language course right now. I'm going to add in Spanish in this section for my one elective. And then, okay, I'm currently in concert orchestra, so I'm going to continue in concert orchestra. So then those are the only 2 electives in addition to all of the other requirements that they have for 9th grade. This is a form that we come back to every single year. We'll be going through course registration with your students as they go into 10th grade, 11th grade, and senior year. So they'll get a refresher. Many of them tend to forget the requirements. We'll remind them, oh, you didn't take PE, your second year of PE yet, so make sure you do that in your next year, or if you're going to be a senior next year, to make sure to have that in your course registration. So this is a good tool to keep in order to plan. The other main piece here is the AP limits. So you'll notice that AP limits listed at the top next to each grade level. So for 10th grade, it'll be 2, for 11th grade, 3, and for senior year, it'll be 4. Anything else?
I just wanted to say the design of this form, if you're looking at it in the left-hand column, those are all the graduation requirements that we went through. So your child has to, it very clearly says English 4 credits. And then when you look at the row across for English, it says English 9. That's your only choice for meeting that graduation requirement. In 10th grade, it says English 10, and that's the only course that you can take to meet that. You'll see in 11th and 12th grade, there's a few other options. You have to choose one of those. The squares that are blank, that's where your child is going to be able to choose electives. And I do want to really point out, this is one of your child's and maybe your first aha moment of the limitations and finding the balance. We offer a lot of really amazing classes. And your child may look at their 2 elective spots and think, wait, I want to take this class and this class and this class. How do I do that? The 4-year plan is meant to help them understand how they can do it. We know there's a lot of classes to take. Have a look through, because they got this form this week. Help them look at their options for 9th grade and prioritize what's most important. They can have 2 or 3 electives in 10th grade, depending on what they do in PE. What do those electives look like? Can they take some of those other exciting classes then? In 11th grade and 12th grade, they have a lot more opportunity to take those elective classes. So I think I want to be clear and say your kid cannot take every class they want to take in 9th grade. And that is difficult.
okay.
Yeah, and kids ask that every year. But I want to take 4. I really want to take 4. But they will have to choose 2. They're 2 best options that are really the best choice for them in the context of their whole 4-year plan. If they're having questions, have them connect with their counselor. But again, we will review this with them every year. We do expect it to change and be updated, and we're always available to help work through any of those changes and updates to help them figure out where they can take all of those amazing classes. Also on the back side of the form, you can see by column, by grade level, which elective courses are available to your students. So you see that in 9th and 10th grade, there's a great number, but in 11th or 12th grade, there's a lot more to look forward to. So again, helping them see what they can take in 9th and 10th grade, and then all the things they have to look forward to in 11th and 12th. And speaking of amazing electives, you want to go there? We have a design and innovation department that is just amazing. And Joyce is here to share a little bit about her department and some really exciting things they have going on so that you can have some great conversations with your kids.
Hello, my name is Joyce Pereira. I'm originally from Brazil. Algum brasileiro que fala português aqui? It's a disappointment every year. All right, so I have been here at KIS for 4 years, and I currently teach the AP CSA and Java programming course and Programming 1 and 2, where we do an intro to AI in Python, and we do some app developing. One of the things that really drew me to KIS was their design and innovation program that starts at pre-K. It is human-centered design. We build the 5 steps in the design thinking process at an early age, really helping our students nurture empathy and design really meaningful products that meet the needs of humans and enhance our experiences. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what we call our D&I, our Design and Innovation Pathways program, to help our students make choices as to which design and innovation path they might be curious to explore and some of the possible career opportunities that exist. We are very, very fortunate to have such a strong team of teachers and such a range of design and innovation courses to offer your students as electives. So I just want to share the overview of why we are offering this at KIS. So it exists to help your students make informed decisions. So this pathway is a visual to help inform your decisions and your child's. It will help them build a portfolio in these areas. We want to help them align their education with their career aspirations early on. And we want to provide opportunities for the students to gain relevant skills and knowledge to apply them in industries or roles within the STEM fields. And we really have curated and organized these courses in a way that will highlight your students' interests and skills and build them along the way. So you did get a handout that has the 4 paths that your students can choose from, which looks like this. And so there are 4 pathways, and there are opportunities for overlapping. But we do want to recognize students who do take these courses and get a formal certificate at the end verifying the work that they have done in this area if they are interested in these pathways. So we have a digital media design, and what you'll see in the middle column are the required design and innovation courses. There are other required courses that do align with what they're doing in their other classes as well that will support what they're doing in this pathway. So for digital media design, they're going to be looking at computer graphics, media production, and on the very far right corner, there are some career opportunities. It's just some ideas of opportunities that exist. There's a physical design where students will be building and using CAD and other products to help building things in the physical world. We have a robotics and physical computing pathway that really focuses again on the robotics and physical computing opportunities, and the computer science and programming pathway that will support them in app development, machine learning, AI, many of the contemporary tools that we're hearing about. That is my heart over there at the bottom. And I just want to highlight that many students are very interested in programming and are already doing some things now. And many students would like to take the AP computer science courses their sophomore year. And in order for them to do that, it is required that they take programming 1 or 2. And so if there is a possible interest in taking an AP computer science course their sophomore year, it would be interesting to consider the programming 1 or 2 electives their freshman year next year. So just keep that in the back. You can take the AP computer science on later on, but for that sophomore year, it would be interesting to think about that now, their freshman year. So this is our pathway program, and again, like they mentioned, this is the first conversation. We are always available to to answer any clarifying questions along the way as you consider the next steps for your students.
Thank you, Joyce.
And afterwards, we're going to have some time to ask questions, and Joyce and Carla, and I don't know, Justin, if you're here as a dual role, but Joyce, Carla, and Justin are here to answer maybe some specific questions if you do have questions about the pathways. I do want to make sure that the Pathways is a special program and a special combination of classes that students will take if they're interested. Your students, all students, can take any of these classes. They don't have to be in a Pathways program to take the classes, but for those students who have a significant interest in studying that particular area a little bit deeper and have more opportunities, that's what the Pathway program is for. But we can answer more specific questions when we're all finished. Whew, you guys have heard so much information now. So now we're going to start talking about how are we going to wrap it up and bring all of this information together in a meaningful way. Your students, we have finished in the science classes for the 8th graders, we have finished our lessons with them. So your students on Tuesday and Wednesday saw us and got the 4-year plan. So now is a great time for you to go home and ask them about their visit from the high school counselor and what they learned and what they're looking at on their 4-year plan, and start having some conversations about it. When they're choosing their courses, their 2 electives for 9th grade, as well as looking at that big picture of the 4-year plan, we're asking you to keep in mind all of these things. So being mindful of the graduation requirements, because that should be your first goal. You definitely want to graduate high school. And then being mindful of your next step after high school, and what are the things that you're interested in doing, and what opportunities would you like to have. Also keeping in mind any career, academic interests and fit that they are experiencing. I say this, your 8th grader does not need to know, and is not expected to know what their career will be. But they might be starting to have some ideas or interests. And keeping that in mind, if they have an interest, they might be able to find an elective or a club as a way to explore that a little bit further. Also keeping in mind the 24 hours in a day and what are their outside time commitments. What kind of courses can they take with what kind of course load or rigor or homework expectation. And keeping themselves in balance, making sure to take care of themselves. Their courses should be a reflection of the things that they're interested in and a reflection of things that they enjoy doing. Hopefully your children all through the 4 years are able to choose a balance of challenging, rigorous courses and courses that also fulfill them and make them feel well-rested and ready to take on those rigorous courses. And also, this one is written for your children, not for you. What is best for the child? What is in their best interest? Sometimes I talk with students who say, well, my parent says I should take blah, 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 blah. And sometimes that advice, as the conversation goes on, really sounds like potentially the parent really would like to study that. The parent finds that field very, very interesting. So if you find you're having those conversations and you're saying, I think maybe you should do this, and your child is starting to say, but I'm really interested in this, that's something to pay attention to, and really encouraging your child to take the courses that they are interested in and making sure. I do know there's lots of opportunities for adult learners in the community. So if you're interested in other things, let's talk about those options. But making sure we're guiding your kids towards what they're most interested in, because that is typically where they'll find most success and happiness. So making sure to follow their lead.
I also think it's just a good framework for the conversations you're going to have with your kids over the next 4 years, because we work with incredible young people, and there are people that are so talented in math and science and theater and volleyball and singing and which is amazing. It's great to be around those people. It's great to be at a school that has this many incredible people, but it's also easy to compare yourself to all of those things, and it's not possible to be the very best and to be great at every single thing that's available. And I think sometimes that conversation can be a comparison conversation versus reframing of what are they doing that's successful. Because now, having been here for 4 years and seeing the students who have really gone on to be those people that all the students look up to and all the parents are like, that kid's amazing, are the students who really from the beginning were supported in what are their passions, what are the things they're interested in, and being able to struggle through that to grow from those experiences versus I'm not the best, I should just give it up immediately. And so I think that's just a good way to have those conversations, especially as they get into 9th grade and look around and go, oh, I can't compete with these people. But they can, they will, they are incredible. And just all of us using that language in supporting them, that what is best for them, not what worked for Johnny or Susie or whoever, but what will work for them.
And so a few details for the process coming up. When your kids are filling out their 4-year plan and doing the course registration, they will be choosing 2 electives and some alternates. Alternates are just in case the electives don't work in the combination of courses they've requested, their alternates may be used instead of those 2 first choices. You could think of it as first choice, second choice, third and fourth choice. You don't need to worry about your child's math placement. That will be determined later in the spring, and we'll go ahead and just take care of that when that happens. If your child is interested in studying a world language next year, their option will be, it will say Spanish placeholder or Chinese placeholder or French placeholder. And again, the level will be determined later on in the spring. If your child is interested in the music, either a band, choir, or orchestra, they're going to sign up for the concert level, and then auditions are held later in the spring, and then we'll change everybody's level. And please encourage your children to have these kinds of conversations with their teachers. If they really love science, talk to their science teacher about suggestions they have for their 4-year plan. Where do they see your child's particular strengths? And it can just be a really good learning and growing opportunity for your children in having those conversations with adults, but also maybe thinking about themselves in a different way and finding different strengths that they have. So this is what it looks like for you to expect. Again, we met with your children already this week. Here we are today on the 19th. Next Tuesday, they'll have an opportunity to see some highlights from all of the different elective departments, so that they will be able to get a deeper look at what the courses are and what kinds of things they would study there. And then on Thursday, they're going to be asked to put their request into PowerSchool during their advisory time. And those requests done on Thursday, that is the time for them to do that. There is not an opportunity for them to change their mind on Friday, but that would be the last time. In April, there will be an opportunity for them to ask to change their course. By that time, the schedule is already built, and it kind of depends on a lot of other pieces. Their best opportunity to get the course they want is to request it on Thursday. And as far as us seeing each other again, on February 14th, we will have a Mythbusters presentation. We will ask for maybe some myths or some rumors you've heard, and we will present and discuss about those. We know there's a lot of myths and rumors, and we really do want to make ourselves available to helping you understand where some of those are coming from, and then maybe some more factual or trusted sources kinds of information. In the spring, our high school administration will host a high school coffee for you to come in, and they will talk about more of the departments in high school and more of what you can expect. And then we also, later in the spring, will host a parent coffee where you're welcome just to come in, and we don't have an agenda or presentation. We're just there to have conversation and answer your questions. So please do reach out at this point to your middle school counselors with questions, and then we look forward to seeing you on these days coming up. I think that's the end of
Those
that.
parent coffees will be going on throughout high school as well. And so every month we host a parent coffee just with the counselors, just open to whoever wants to come in and talk about what's going on. And those will be grade level specific. So it's a good time to meet other parents from the same grade, hear what's going on with other parents, and just chat with the counselors. So those are always really, really informative for us. So we look forward to seeing you for the next several years.